Okay, we have Mark Raymond Jr. with us, and we're just going to jump into what the most important and interesting things are, which are you are a very young guy, you're very attractive, I think you're very charismatic. Dare I say, like, ladies' man? I don't know if I can say that, but tell us more about sort of how you approach dating and how dating approaches you.
Dating, first of all, dating in your mid 30s is just interesting. Um, Especially for me because I'm very mission driven, focused. So I don't relate to a lot, I think, of pop culture stuff. So I'm looking for like a very specific someone, and that makes it tricky.
So, Mark, when you talk about mission driven, are you talking about the mission to date or your own personal mission?
Definitely my own personal mission. I'm dating is secondary to the work that I'm doing, unfortunately.
And what work are you doing?
Well, I help a lot of people with disabilities, depending, not even depending anymore, in a lot of different spaces. So we started an organization years ago called Split Second Foundation. I'm sure we're going to talk about the work that it does, but I'm on so many boards. I feel like I'm just like the disability ambassador for the country or something.
So wait, I have to stop. That's a perfect place for me to say how I know Mark, which is I was an outgoing board member of Easter Seals, which is an organization that's been around for 100 plus years and works in the disability space to help people and their families, people with disabilities and their families, lead better lives, to thrive, to progress. So I was leaving the board as Mark was coming in, and we met at a board dinner where I was sort of being honored as part of my outgoing. And as part of a sort of Capitol Hill Day that Easter Seals was having here in Washington, D.C. And when we met, I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy is amazing and he's wonderful and we have to talk. So, quick backstory on that. And yes, to your point, Mark, about what you do for our audience, if they don't know you, you really need to know Mark. He's the CEO of the Split Second Foundation. It's a nonprofit. It helps keep people and patients with paralysis, stroke, amputation get inpatient rehabilitation treatment. So he knows a little bit about all the things that we talk about here on Bad Women, whether it's mental health, physical health, community, family, all of those things. So, Mark, before we get any deeper, just thank you from us for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I mean, when you asked me to do this, I was like, absolutely. I'm a bad guy. Of course I would do this. It's like perfect.
Yes.
So, what was your initial reaction when Tatiana shared what we are doing with Bad Women with you?
Well, first of all, my initial reaction of Tetiana was, "Oh my God, that's Olivia Pope. I gotta go meet her. She's got to be like the actual person." And lo and behold, she is like everything amazing. So when she asked me to do this, it was like such a Olivia Pope kind of question. It's great. I'm here. I'm
And I
present.
know, and I know part of your first initial, private conversation kind of circled around dating, what we started with on the show.
Yeah.
So when Tatiana was telling me about it, like it really resonated with me as well because I think all of us, we always wonder how much of your own story do you actually share online in a profile when you want to meet someone, when like yeah, what are these steps for you? Like how much do you actually share of yourself before you are meeting a person? Like, what are you putting out there about yourself?
I think I'm pretty vulnerable on my social media channels, so it's got a pretty good history of everything that's happened and everything that I've been working on the last 9 years, really, since my accident, and kind of life a little bit before that too, right? I will say I don't fancy myself an influencer, so I'm not like trying to make content to appease the influencer algorithm as much as like I put out stuff that I think I want people to know about me, and that's a control that I like to keep.
It
That
comes from the heart.
total.
Yeah, it's genuine. It's not. I'm not chasing followers with this. Like hell, half the time I'm second guessing whether I want to post it at all, and so that's probably half the posts that are up there. Um, but it's interesting. Like definitely, and to your question about how that influences people I engage with, especially of the opposite sex. Um, I am very I'm charming but shy, right? Like I'm guarded. I'm protected. I like being alone. I like things a certain way. So I don't know. I don't do much as much chasing as I did in my younger years.
Okay, okay, okay. I like that. You know, you're talking about how you're not an influencer or you don't see yourself that way, but you know, I have to disagree. Especially, you know, if you look at Mark, he's been on like every major talk show. His Instagram following, you know, puts my 12 followers to total shame. And it's his mission that's important. And if you haven't been able to gauge this from Mark, or you haven't been able to see this, he is joining us from a wheelchair. He is partially paralyzed. But before we get to how that happened, I want to share with our viewers sort of what your life was like before that. So I want to play this clip of you on Jennifer Hudson's show.
Can you tell us what life was like before your accident?
Life was amazing. I was 27 years old, so I was really coming into my own. I was like the Prince of New Orleans, the way I moved and enjoyed life. But I was also a broadcast engineer, so I was traveling the country. Literally would fly out on Thursday to work a show Friday, fly back home Saturday. And that was my work week.
It was fun. Ooh, that was fun. So much fun. Like I missed that. UFC was here in New Orleans actually this past weekend, and I got to see some of the guys I worked with frequently. But yeah, life pre-accident was pretty fun.
Well, so can you tell us about what happened?
Yeah, so I went out. Let me back up a little bit. Going back, I traveled and worked every Thursday, did a show Friday, flew home Saturday. This particular weekend was Essence Week in New Orleans, so I didn't have to work. Flew home, partied the whole weekend. Monday landed on the 4th of July. So me and a bunch of friends decided we were going to go out on a boat, hang out, and kind of take it easy because we had just finished partying all weekend. And around 5 o'clock, I wasn't paying attention to the depth of the water or the tide, and took three steps off the back of the boat, dove in, hit my forehead on the sandy bottom, and it didn't knock me out. So I opened my eyes and I was looking at the ground, like, and I couldn't move. It was there's a lot of strange emotions that runs through your mind when you are face down in water and can't move. So I pretty much immediately went into the panic mode and started praying, started thinking about mom, and just asking God to save me somehow. And that was the last thing I remember. And I woke up 3 weeks later in a hospital room with everything beeping. Yeah. Not exactly the right turn I was trying to make in life, but I'll take it.
Sounds a lot in the way that you talk that there's kind of the before and after. So how would you describe, like you've shared a little bit and we heard it on the show, sort of the before life. So what was the after like?
After has been a journey. After was like a reset, right? Like you start as an infant in this process, and there's a lot of crying, kicking and screaming, and negotiating. And after things kind of settle in, you get comfortable and you start trying to figure it out. And after you run into a few walls, you realize that there's not much for people that have gone through these types of situations. And for me, that was really troubling. So it became my mission to change. And I had a bunch of free time. So this was something that I could devote my energy to, my mental capacity, my brain power, and not just stare at the pool all day and think, why did I dive off this boat? It took me about 2 years to really get through the grief process and get to acceptance, and I'd say like even being in a good place. Probably a good 2 years.
So, you know, this is an accident, right? But it's not one of those accidents that somebody did to you,
Right.
right? You did it to yourself.
Yep.
And that's something that you've said to me before. How did you sort of reconcile that and get past the fact that you controlled your outcome here? You know what I mean?
It's a real it's accountability. Honestly, I couldn't blame anybody else, right? It was something that I had to get comfortable looking in the mirror with the outcome of a decision that I made, right? And it's a hard pill to swallow. It took me a while to figure it out, as you can imagine. Um, and I went all around the rainbow bush with the suicidal thoughts and depression and anxiety. But it was also a lot of negotiating within the darkness. Like, if I find my light, I'm never looking back at this, right? And when I did that, that was exactly the mentality I've kept. Very disciplined and not letting the darkness take control of my thinking and drive me insane. Like
And
a
I
cage.
wonder, you know, when you came out on the other side and kind of looking back at it now, was there someone or something that really made the difference for you that helped you to get through?
Community. It was family, it was friends, it was people that wouldn't let me sit at home and be miserable, right? Like they drugged me out of the house in the first 6 months to a year, took me to the bars, made sure I did things that I did before, um, but also tried to help me deal with it in this new context in life. And without that village support, I don't think I would be where I am doing as much as I have, especially my mom, my dad, right? Like, talk about just reshuffle the deck and I want this same batch.
You know, you mentioned your mom, and I know that your family was right by your side through all of this, but you know, your mom, speaking of bad women, she reshuffled her whole life, right, to make
Yeah.
sure that you could have your life now. When you
Hmm.
think about the contributions of the woman who is your mother, and just women in general, what comes to your mind?
Yeah. To one, to speak to my mom, but two, to speak to all women, because I think I've seen this consistently with the wives, the moms that end up quitting life to become caretaker and make sure that everything keeps going. Without that like energy, that commitment, she made a promise to God too. Like, if he lives, I got him. And that wasn't a promise to me. That was a promise that she made. Even that she upholds on mad days, right? On bad days when she needs somebody to pour into her. It's there's a strength there that is like undescribable. I, you couldn't make it in a lab. Like, it's incredible to see. And I see this, I'm telling you, in so many women that end up being caregivers. And they're actually the largest population that's affected by disability. And people don't know that. Largest unpaid population, we talk about this a lot with Easter seals too. I mean, just the not only underappreciated, but overwhelmed consistently and still figures out a way to make it through. So, definition of a bad woman to me. And she's from the Seventh Ward in New Orleans, so she's spicy.
She is. She's absolutely lovely. She's spicy, and she is definitely a bad woman. Okay, tell your mom she's gonna have to be a guest on the show at another time.
She would
And
love
you're
to.
her son. Like, what would you say have you then learned from your mother?
Um, one, my I think my parents have definitely taught me how to be a good man, and what that looks like when you have support. What kind of energy you can pour back into community. You know, like, I'm a good case study on childhood wasn't perfect, but got the education, figured out a few things, try to solve problems, try to do right by people. And I think that's what my mom is really proud of, right? The way that we have been able to help so many people with this, share our story, the strength that the bond that we've now grown, because you get so much closer in suffering. Um, and same with my dad. My dad is definitely 50-50 right there. Mom takes one half of the side of the work, and dad is out working, making money to make sure everything keeps spinning. And for so many years, like, that's how it was until I got to a point where I started making money, and then I started investing, and now I've run a money management business. So
Wow.
yeah, I do a lot of things.
You wear so many hats, but what the theme that keeps popping up for me, whether it's family, which is kind of the ultimate community, is this idea of community. And it seems like, you got to this place where you realized your accident wasn't necessarily so much about you, but it was about, your personal mission to serve your community. And you're doing that through the Split Second Foundation. Can you talk about some of the ways that you are doing that through the foundation?
Absolutely. I would even say I don't even look at my accident like it was an accident anymore. I think God did this on purpose and for me to do this work. Split Second Foundation provides comprehensive care, resources, education, and advocacy to people impacted by disability in a number of ways. One being engaging families immediately after trauma so that they can get an idea of what life post hospital and inpatient rehab will look like. We have a fitness program where we do yoga, one-on-one sessions, group sessions. For a lot of people that are going through therapy specifically, you get discharged after a certain point because insurance won't continue covering your care, and you have no place else to go. So we really wanted Split Second Fitness to kind of solve for that problem. And big impact there is if we keep people healthy by continuing their exercise, preventing a bed sore, preventing a pulmonary embolism, inevitably you'll have reduced cost on the healthcare system. And I like to look at what we're doing as a real preventative healthcare model that just hasn't been certified in that way yet. But we're working on that as well.
And how can people, get in touch or get involved to get services through your organization?
So just like Tetiana was just showing our website, that's the best way to get in touch with us there, or one of our social media channels. I think most of our emails are listed on the website too, on the About page. But for those who just want to shoot me something now, it's mark@splitsecondfoundation.org. Yep, that's my Insta.
You can see him here on Instagram, the man who says that he's not an influencer, but you're influencing a lot of people, you're touching a lot of lives, and it's actually amazing. Um,
It was all by accident.
it was all by design.
Yeah, okay.
And you said
Touche.
earlier, I've been, still having in my head that when you, first needed care, and you realized you were saying that, there's so much missing. Like, what are the sort of top 3 or top 5 things that you say right now have to be, changed, taken care of immediately to make life for you and so many other people easier?
Housing, number one. Number two is transportation. Number three, more programs like we have. And for a lot of folks, like, you need so much support after this because you're filling out Medicaid applications, Social Security, trying to navigate that space, and there's asset limits, and you need financial
It's so
planners.
complicated.
It is. You need equipment. So my third thing would be more community, or fourth thing, more community. The stronger you get the community, the better people can participate in it. And it functions just like a regular marketplace, right? Like, if you educate folks and they can participate in the economy, they will. It's never been rocket science. But I don't know why disability services have consistently been so contentious. I mean, just like we've seen in the last 6 months, it's like we are costing the system when in effect all of these programs reduce cost on the system.
Absolutely, it's absolutely. I'm wondering, what would you say to folks who are dealing with some sort of adversity now, whether it be, mental health, physical health, or another battle? Is there some general advice that you have from your perch and from your experience?
Get through it. Just keep getting through it. Put one foot in front of the other. Figure it out. I mean, I feel like there's a solution to every problem. A lot of times we just got to calm down enough to be able to see it. One thing that I heard recently that really resonated was you can't see in a pot of boiling water. The water has to be still, right? And then you can see your reflection in it. So in everything, don't allow the frustration and the chaos to distract you from the mission. You got to stay focused and keep pushing.
Mark, there's so much we could talk to you about. We could go on and on and on for hours. But before we let you go, is there anything that we didn't cover that you feel is particularly important to say, or any last thought you have for us, for our viewers, for the world?
Anybody's life can change in a split second. I learned how valuable life was at a young age, and I felt like I died and I didn't leave a legacy behind. And so a lot of the work that I've done has been legacy work, has been very intentional work. And it's amazing what that sense of purpose can do to a person that is going through adversity, right? Like the drive is so different because it means so much to me personally. Like I'm not gonna fail. So I think the last thing I would say was don't let that split second moment stop you. Let it fuel you and keep going.
It certainly kickstarted you, and I have to say, like, you have such a legacy already, and I cannot wait of what else there's going to be. So we hope to have you back on soon again to,
Please.
learn more about you. And thank you so much for sharing all, you've shared with us all of your, amazing insight and wisdom.
Love it. Would love to be back anytime.
And for our viewers, continue to follow us here on Substack, on YouTube, and our Instagram, because one day we're going to have 40,000 followers like Mark Raymond Jr. here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.